Where is the place where nobody wears clothes? Imagine a place where clothing is not just optiona, it's completely unnecessary in this world. People live freely, untouched by the norms of modern fashion. No shirts, no pants, no shoes, just pure, unfiltered human connection to nature. Today, we're exploring the mystical, hidden, and isolated places where nobody wears clothes. From ancient tribes deep in the jungle to modern communities that have rejected societal norms, this journey will take you to places you never knew existed. But here's the real question: why do these people live this way? And what can we learn from them? Stay with me until the end, because what you discover today might just change the way you see the world. Why some places have no clothes, climate, and survival. The first reason clothing was never needed. The first and most obvious reason why some people never adopted clothing is purely practical. Clothing is unnecessary in their environment. Imagine living deep in the Amazon rainforest, where the humidity is so high that wearing thick clothes could lead to constant infections, overheating, and even death. In remote islands of the Pacific, the tropical climate makes clothing not just uncomfortable but completely useless. For these people, clothing isn't about modesty, it's about survival. The Yanomami tribe of the Amazon wears minimal clothing, relying on body paint and ornaments instead. The Korowai people of Papua, Indonesia, wear nothing but simple decorations made from plants. The Hadza tribe of Tanzania, one of the last hunter-gatherer societies, rarely wears clothing except for utility-based coverings. But this is just the beginning. There's a much deeper reason why some people reject clothing altogether. For many ancient tribes, clothing wasn't just unnecessary, it was considered unnatural. Some cultures believe that clothing blocks energy flow between humans and nature. The Matses tribe of the Amazon believes that their body is a sacred gift and that wearing clothing interferes with their spiritual balance. Social status and identity. Some tribes don't measure status by wealth but by physical appearance and body markings. Instead of fancy suits or designer brands, they use tattoos, scars, and body paint to indicate their rank, marriage status, or bravery. Gender equality in clothing-free societies. Many of these communities have less gender-based clothing restrictions. Women in the Himba tribe of Namibia don't wear tops because it's considered completely natural, not inappropriate. Among the Piaroa people of Venezuela, men and women both live in minimal attire, and there is no concept of modesty in dress. But here's the shocking part: there are places where clothing-free living isn't just an ancient tradition, but a modern choice. It's not just remote tribes. There are also modern, self-sustaining communities where clothing is not required. The naturist villages of Europe. Countries like France, Germany, and Spain have communities dedicated to naturism, a lifestyle where clothing is entirely optional. Cap d'Agde in France is a town where thousands of people live, work, and socialize without wearing any clothes. Clothing-free beaches and resorts around the world. Many nudist resorts in the Caribbean, Australia, and even the US provide people with a space to live naturally, without judgment. In the Hedonism 2 resort in Jamaica, clothing is completely optional, and many guests choose to embrace full freedom. Experimental communities that reject clothing norms. In places like California, groups of people have formed intentional communities, where clothing is seen as a personal choice rather than a requirement. Some of these people argue that removing clothing removes societal barriers and allows for a more authentic human connection. This raises a big question: is a world without clothing actually possible? Surprisingly, science supports the idea that minimal clothing, or none at all, can have health benefits. Improved skin health. Constantly wearing tight clothing traps bacteria and moisture, leading to rashes, acne, and infections. Many cultures that don't wear clothing have significantly lower rates of skin diseases. Better mental health and confidence. Studies show that people who spend more time in the nude feel more confident about their bodies. In cultures where clothing isn't emphasized, there is less body shaming and unrealistic beauty standards. Stronger immune systems. Many indigenous communities develop stronger immune systems because they are not protected by synthetic fabrics and instead rely on natural immunity. But if all of this is true, Why did most of the world start wearing clothes in the first place? Religion and morality. Many major religions introduced ideas of modesty, making clothing a moral or spiritual requirement. The story of Adam and Eve in the Bible is often cited as the first moment humans discovered clothing. Social class and hierarchy. In many ancient civilizations, clothing was used to show social status. The richer you were, the more elaborate your clothing became. Industrialization and the rise of fashion. As societies developed, clothing became a business. Today, fashion is a multi-billion-dollar industry that dictates how we dress and express ourselves. But in many places, the old ways still survive, and clothing is still seen as optional. So, after all this, what do you think? Would you ever visit a place where clothing wasn't required? Do you think the world would be better if we weren't so dependent on fashion and clothing norms? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective, and if you found this video interesting, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more mind-blowing explorations into unique cultures and societies, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.